Wars story. Interesting facts. Below is a list of Rogue One hidden truth and facts you probably don't know. The studio had only two choices to play Chirrut, Donnie Yen and Jet Li. Yen was approached first because of his salary of $4 million against Li's $10 million. To gauge his interest and a secondary plan, director Gareth Edwards also offered him the other role of Baze. Yen expressed interest in playing Chirrut but was hesitant in accepting it, because it required him to be away in London for 5 months. However, it was his young son's love of the Star Wars films and comics that wore down his reluctance, and it was his idea to make his character blind. The Rebel base at Yavin 5 features several full-sized cardboard cutouts of X-Wings and Y-Wing fighters, using the same technique of filling out the hangar as in the original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977. Costume designer David Crossman stated that some of the original costumes used in Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, 1983, were reused here. Darth Vader is first shown living in a castle-like fortress that appears to be built on an active volcano. This is based on an unused concept created by Ralph McQuarrie after Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, was filmed but before the plot of Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, was developed. The planet is most likely Mustafar, the place where Anakin Skywalker made his final transformation into Vader, and where his body became extensively injured. In Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, 2005. Alan Tudyk, who plays Negative Tuso, improvised the slap across Cassian's face on Jedha. This is the first Star Wars film in which no one mentions the name Skywalker. This film is set days before the events of Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, and 5 years after Star Wars Rebels, 2014. The synopsis of this film is the entire opening crawl. It is a period of civil war, rebel spaceships, from Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977. After Disney's purchase of Lucasfilm, John Knoll heard about some of the early concepts for new Star Wars movies and was not impressed with any of them. He began developing his idea for this film and started talking it up to his fellow ILM employees, refining the story into a 30-minute pitch. People at ILM liked it so much that he was encouraged to bring it to Kathleen Kennedy, the new president of Lucasfilm. She loved the pitch and the movie was put into production. The space battle features the Blue Squadron of X-Wings, as well as Red Squadron and Gold Squadron already known from the original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977. Blue Squadron was supposed to be in the original film, but because the blue color on the fighters created issues with the blue screen technique that could not be overcome with the technology available in 1977, the color was changed to red. This film confirms through dialogue that the Death Star can travel through hyperspace, though it is never seen entering, within, or emerging from hyperspace. George Lucas loved the film so much that director Gareth Edwards posted on his Twitter feed, "Sick, it was the most important review to me. He's kind of like God. I will take that conversation to my grave. His opinion means the world to me." This is the first Star Wars movie to not use scrolling text crawl at the opening of the movie. Genevieve O'Reilly reprised her role as Mon Mothma, whom she previously played in Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, 2005. However, all but one of her scenes from the earlier film were deleted. The original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, features one shot of the main hero standing outside the Yavin 5 temple. Although the temple itself was a matte painting, the actors in the foreground, including various rebels and their transports, were filmed at Cardington Sheds in Bedfordshire, England. The Rogue One crew returned to the same location to film not only exteriors, but this time also recreated the interior of the rebel base there. The planet Coruscant, capital of the galaxy, is seen in the background of Jyn Erso's flashback to her childhood where her father Galen Erso is talking with Orson Krennic. Alan Tudyk initially turned down the role of -2so because he thought the start of filming would clash with his pre-production of his crowdfunded comedy series Con Man, 2015. When Gareth Edwards told him that the filming was moved back by a month in July 2015, he eventually agreed. To prepare for the role, he took mask lessons with the New York-based mask teacher Orlando Pabatoy to allow him to express by body language. He has since said that the role was one of the best he has worked on because it allowed him to wear a motion capture suit on set along with the bonus of walking on a pair of 13-inch stilts. Cashin mentions something about the Whills when speaking with Jyn on Jedha before the attack on the hover tank. The Star Wars, from the Journal of the Whills was the original working title of George Lucas' story. The Whills were wise beings who narrated the Star Wars saga to their pupils, explaining it as having happened a long time ago in a galaxy far away. This flashback format was ultimately deemed unnecessary and abandoned. There is a popular consensus among fans that the Whills are the species that Yoda belonged to, but this has never been officially confirmed. Alan Tudyk ad-libbed some of his dialogue. Michael Giacchino composed the music for this film. He has composed every film directed by J.J. Abrams except, ironically, Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, 2015. A jug of blue milk can be seen in Lyra's kitchen when Jyn is hurriedly packing her things. Blue milk first appeared in Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, in Aunt Beru's kitchen when Uncle Owen was advising Luke to stay away from Mr. Kenobi. After voicing Darth Vader in 4 Star Wars films and numerous tie-in projects, James Earl Jones once again returned to voice the character after last doing so in Star Wars, Episode III, Revenge of the Sith, 2005. The first live-action, theatrical Star Wars movie to not include a Jedi as the main character. Darth Vader, who is a Sith and ex-Jedi, is a secondary character. Several of Saw Gerrera's compatriots can be seen playing an analog version of a Daedra Colatrus game that appears in hologram form aboard the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, and Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, 2015. Saw Gerrera's line, "What will you become?" that was used in the trailer was improvised by Forrest Whitaker. Tarkin, portrayed by Peter Cushing in Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, is now played by Guy Henry with a CGI replica of Cushing's face superimposed over his. Henry previously played Sherlock Holmes in Young Sherlock, The Mystery of the Manor House, 1982, during the 1980s, using Cushing's role in Sherlock Holmes, 1964, as his model. A call for Captain Antilles can be heard as the rebels prepare for their assault on Scarif. Captain Ramus Antilles is the character in Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, who is killed by Darth Vader right after the opening battle. This is the first Star Wars movie in which a woman, Felicity Jones, receives top billing. During the attack on the shield, the Y-Wing pilot Gold Leader tells the pilots to watch out for those towers, a call that he will repeat in Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, during the attack on the Death Star. When Cashin, Jyn and -2so are entering the databank elevator on Scarif, -2so starts to say the famous line, "I have a bad feeling about this." This is a running gag set in every past Star Wars movie. In Rogue One, however, -2so is interrupted by Jyn and Cashin before he can finish. Composer Alexander Desplat's original score was rejected because of the extensive reshoots to address the tone and story issues. This extended the post-production schedule, for which he was unavailable due to his commitments to Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, 2017. Michael Giacchino, his replacement, had only 1 month to write his musical score. In one scene at Yavin IV, an announcer can be heard calling out to a General Syndulla. This might refer to Hera Syndulla of Star Wars Rebels, 2014, or her father, Cham Syndulla, who first appeared in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, 2008. Alan Tudyk plays a droid character, named -2SO, through motion capture technology. Tudyk also previously played the robot character Sonny in I, Robot, 2004. At one point, Chirrut Îmwe says, "May the force of others be with you." This was from George Lucas' original 1974 off-draft screenplay of Star Wars called The Star Wars, and was used in the similarly named Dark Horse comic adaptation nearly 40 years later. Tony Gilroy was paid $5 million for 12 weeks' work on script revising and reshoots, especially on the third act. He also recommended to the producers to hire his brother, editor John Gilroy, to edit the reshot footage. None of the first two trailer footage made it into the final film. As Cassian and Jyn walk through the crowded streets of Jedha, an Imperial probe droid, Probot, similar to the one encountered by Han Solo and Chewbacca on Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, passes in the background. The character named Jyn Erso is thought to be a reference to Jyn Erso, a character in the video game Star Wars: Dark Forces, 1995. In the first mission of the game, Orson and Kyle Katarn recover the plans to the Death Star. Saw Gerrera is the third Star Wars animated character to appear in a live-action Star Wars film, preceded by Boba Fett, who first appeared in the Star Wars Holiday Special, 1978, and General Grievous, first appearing in Star Wars: Clone Wars, 2003. The film was shipped to theaters under the name Los Alamos. Los Alamos, New Mexico is the location where the first tests of the atomic bomb invented during World War II took place. The atom bomb was a loose inspiration for the Death Star. On the walls of Saw Gerrera's cave there are mutas, a nod to the monsters the title character fought in Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, 2014. Tatiana Maslany, Rooney Mara and Kate Mara auditioned for the female-led role of Jyn Erso, which went to Felicity Jones. At least two of the astromechs seen in the background on the Resistance base on DOR in Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, 2015, can also be spotted rolling around the Rebel base on Yavin IV, namely R4, M9 and R5, X3. Hidden in the credits is the title keeper of the Datacron. A Datacron is a cube-like artifact used by the Jedi to store information. They are referenced frequently in the online game Star Wars: The Old Republic, 2011. When Jyn and Cassian are walking through the crowded streets of Jedha, they bump into two guys where one of the men says, "Hey, watch where you're going." These are Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba, Walrus Man, who are seen in the cantina in Episode 4, A New Hope, where Obi-Wan Kenobi cuts off one of the men's arms after bothering Luke. This is the second Star Wars film in which Darth Vader is seen in his meditation chamber. The other film is The Empire Strikes Back, in which his scarred head is visible, but this time his full damaged body is seen. The chamber is hyperbaric, meaning that the air inside is regulated at a specific pressure, allowing Vader to sit inside without his helmet and survive. Anthony Daniels was reportedly disgruntled that Alan Tudyk was allowed to play -2SO in the relative comfort of the motion capture suit, whereas Daniels had to endure years of discomfort and injuries in the -3PO costume. This tension came to a head when Daniels cursed at Tudyk after Rogue One's premiere. Tudyk later joked that a "F you" from Daniels was one of the highest compliments he had ever received. Though existing in the same time frame as Star Wars Rebels, 2014, it was revealed that characters from the series will not cross over to the movie. Although there are several verbal references to characters from Rebels, both Dave Filoni and Gareth Edwards felt that they should exist on their own, rather than build off each other. Interestingly, the character of Saw Gerrera, Forrest Whitaker, was first seen in an episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, 2008, also co-created by Filoni. Saw Gerrera appears in Star Wars Rebels: Ghosts of Geonosis. At one point, Captain Cassian Andor says the phrase, "punch it," to his co-pilot K-2SO. This is an obvious ode to Han Solo's line, "Okay, punch it, Chewie," in the original saga. Because much of the film was shot at Pinewood Studios near Wembley where Riz Ahmed grew up, Riz spent most of the shoot living at his parents' home. This is the first full appearance of the original jump to hyperspace effect seen from the inside of a ship's cockpits in Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi, 1983, 33 years prior. The effect was seen in a trailer for Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, 2015, but was not used in the final cut of that film. Instead, the effect is mostly obscured by the rafter that was clinging to, and subsequently torn apart on, the cockpit window of the Millennium Falcon. The highly ranked Imperial officer Tarkin was designated in Star Wars promotional materials as Grand Moff Tarkin, but in the film Star Wars Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, he was named only as Governor Tarkin. He was called out by Princess Leia when she was brought to his presence. In this film he is again referred to as Governor Tarkin. The title Moff, which according to printed materials is a kind of admiral, has never been spoken in Star Wars live-action movies. Printed sources beginning in the late 1980s gave Tarkin the first name Wilhuff, which has also never been spoken on film. In the trailer, Jyn walks out onto a catwalk while a TIE fighter rises in front of her. This scene was not used in the final film. Continues the tradition of a Wilhelm scream heard in every Star Wars film, heard when Jyn sneaks up behind a stormtrooper, disarms him, and pushes him down a small cliff. Towards the end of the movie, one of the Imperial officers is Jeremy Bulloch, who originally played Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. According to Ralph McQuarrie, the design for Darth Vader's castle was based on the shape of a tuning key, symbolizing the turning to the dark side. The Jedi Temple was also based on the same shape but is colored in white as opposed to the castle's black. Filming of this movie reportedly started on July 1, 2015 at Pinewood Studios in London, England. Filmed with digital Arri Alexa 65 cameras using Ultra Panavision 70 lenses, this marks Rogue One, the first Star Wars film, as well as the first Disney film since The Black Cauldron, 1985, to be shot in the 70mm widescreen film format. Only the second film to open with a tilt-up rather than a tilt-down after Star Wars Episode II, Attack of the Clones, 2002. First, and thus far only Star Wars film not to be scored by John Williams. The first Star Wars film to introduce locations with on-screen captions. In both the non-canon legendary Star Wars universe and in canon materials like the animated series Clone Wars and Rebels, the color of a kyber crystal determines the color of the lightsaber it powers. Jyn's crystal is white, which either retcons this idea, or makes her crystal extremely rare. The only in-canon character to use a white lightsaber is Ahsoka Tano, Anakin's former Padawan in the two animated series. Chirrut Îmwe, the blind guardian of the Whills, is based after Zatoichi, the title protagonist of a long-running Japanese film franchise. Cinematographer Greig Fraser used Ultra Panavision 70 anamorphic lenses on this film. The third Star Wars film to be rated PG-13. Aaron Paul, Edgar Ramirez and Sam Claflin were eyed for the male-led role. The Citadel and the planet Scarif where Imperial data are stored in the movie is reminiscent of the planet Rakata Prime first appeared from video game Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, 2003. The third Star Wars film to be given the PG-13 rating. The previous films to be given the PG-13 rating were Star Wars, Episode III, Revenge of the Sith, 2005, and Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, 2015. Joel Edgerton, Dominic West, Mark Strong, Taylor Kitsch, Joel Kinnaman, Sam Worthington, Charlie Hunnam, and Gerard Butler were rumored for roles in this film. This is the 8th live-action Star Wars movie, excluding 3 TV movies, which are not considered canon. Corporal Tonk is played by Jordan Stevens, better known in the UK for his musical career as one half of the duo Rizzle Kicks. The idea of a kyber crystal originated in the Alan Dean Foster novel, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was the first original Star Wars novel released after A New Hope premiered in 1977. In the novel, which was based on Lucas' ideas for a possible sequel, the kyber crystal was an artifact that gave a Jedi immense power over the Force. It is unusual for a Star Wars film to be set in the classic trilogy era, and for a Star Destroyer to not appear in the first scene. However, in keeping with tradition, a ship is seen flying either away from or toward the camera. Carrie Fisher, the original Princess Leia, passed away over a week after the film's cinema release in the United States. This is Gareth Edwards' third theatrical film. The hangar scenes at the Rebels Yavin base were filmed at Cardington Hangars. Simon Kinberg turned down screenwriting duties after Gary Whitta's departure due to other commitments. Christopher McQuarrie contributed, but uncredited, a script revision before Chris White signed on to resume writing duties. There are 8 actors from BBC hit show Doctor Who, 2005, who appear in this movie: Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso, Warwick Davis as Weetif Sayubi, Daniel Mays as Tivakund, Sharon Duncan Brewster as Senator Pamlo, Ariane Backer as Blue 4, Paul Casey as Admiral Raddus, Jimmy V as R2, D2 and Spencer Wilding as Darth Vader. Alistair Petrie, who played General Drayton, did voice work in the Doctor Who audio adventures. Jyn Erso was falsely speculated to be the mother of Rey, heroine of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, 2015. Nearly none of the footage and dialogue in Rogue One's original reveal trailer made it into the final theatrical cut. It is theorized this was caused by the film's extensive reshoots. The characters briefly travel to a planet called Wabani, which is an anagram for Obi-Wan. A piece of concept footage was shown at Star Wars Celebration to fans, but it was unclear if this scene, as of April 2016, would be in the finished movie. This is the second live-action Star Wars film to feature a female-led character. Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, and Drew Henley, Red Leader, both passed away in 2016. Forrest Whitaker had starred opposite Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, in Amazing Stories, Gather Your Acorns, 1986. Alan Tudyk, Negative Tuso, played pilot Hoban Washburn in the TV series Firefly, 2002, and its feature film sequel Serenity, 2005. The Star Wars movies were one of Joss Whedon's influences behind Firefly's Serenity. The series was about a crew of former Galactic War veterans turned space pirates doing legal or illegal jobs as they try to make a living and whilst evading an interplanetary government. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, 2016, is the fourth Star Wars prequel. This was the closing gala movie on the 13th edition of Dubai International Film Festival. Vader's line as he uses the Force to choke Krennic, "Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, director," is a clever pun. He is referring to Krennic's ambitions to power, aspirations, being his undoing, and also his gagging on his own lung secretions, aspirations, as he is being choked by Vader. The scene in which Chirrut Îmwe walks through the open during a battle on Scarif without getting hit by blaster fire happening all around him is similar and likely in homage to the opening scene in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope when R2, D2 and -3PO move unscathed through the middle of blaster fire when stormtroopers first board the rebel blockade runner. This is the second time composer Michael Giacchino has composed the score for a film in a series whose popular theme music had been composed by John Williams. The first was Jurassic World, 2015, from the Jurassic Park franchise. Duncan Powell and Guy Henry both starred in the long-running BBC medical drama series Holby City, 1999. Rian Johnson, Star Wars Episode 8 2017, writer-director, plays an Imperial trooper controlling the Death Star's superlaser. The trivia items below may give away important plot points. The character of Grand Moff Tarkin, played in Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, by Peter Cushing, is revived and performed by Cushing. Despite his death in 1994, Cushing was resurrected with CGI and actually performed by Guy Henry. Cushing received a special recognition to Peter Cushing honorable mention in the end credits. Similarly, the character of young Princess Leia has a brief cameo, with much help recreating her facial features with CGI, while physically performed by Ingvar Dila. During the assault on Scarif, two stormtroopers can be heard referring to the VT-15 going out of commission. This is a parallel to the scene in Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, where two stormtroopers are overheard discussing the new VT-16 being quite a thing to see. Gareth Edwards and his creative team discovered some old film canisters while rummaging around the Lucasfilm warehouses. When he asked what they were, an employee said they were old Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, footage. The discovery led to the inclusion of unused Episode 4 material featuring Red Leader and Gold Leader in this movie. Ink Negative 3PO have a brief cameo, making Anthony Daniels the only actor to appear in every movie in the series thus far. During the final battle, Red 5's X-Wing is shot down and the pilot killed. This call sign is then reassigned to Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977. Features digitally inserted characters from the original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, release and unused footage from it, including Governor Tarkin, Princess Leia, Red Leader, Gold Leader, and Biggs Darklighter, Luke's friend from Tatooine. The footage of some of the X-Wing pilots, especially Red and Gold Leader, including a call sign exchange, are originally deleted footage from the Death Star attack shot for Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, but digitally cut into the footage shot for this film. Rogue One is the call sign that Bodhi Rook comes up with to use for the stolen Imperial ship that the Rebels take to steal the Death Star plans. Rogue 2 is the call sign of the Rebel snowspeeder pilot that finds Luke and Han on Hoth in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. When Chirrut, Jyn, Keshan, and Baze are being led around with hoods over their heads, Chirrut is the only one who doesn't stumble. Jyn's father, Galen, is modeled after J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. Both men share the same guilt factor of becoming an agent of death for building a weapon of mass destruction. In Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977, when Grand Moff Tarkin is announcing the dissolution of the Senate to Vader and the other officers, there is an empty chair next to Tarkin's spot. This is presumably the seat of the recently deceased director Krennic, who died on Scarif. On Jedha, Jyn bumps into Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba, the same man who tried to start a fight with Luke in the cantina in Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977. In the first draft of the screenplay, Jyn and Keshan survived the events of the film, despite director Gareth Edwards wanting all of the heroes to die. After speaking with Kathleen Kennedy and executives at Disney, he expressed this opinion, and to his surprise, Kennedy agreed and gave him permission to kill off the characters. After getting permission from Disney and Lucasfilms to kill off the main characters, several options were considered, among them, the team getting slaughtered by Darth Vader in the final scene. This was deemed too dark, and the Vader death was given to a random group of rebels, while the main characters were given slightly more uplifting and less violent deaths. The only Star Wars film ever made in which no light side lightsabers appear or are used, green or blue. The only lightsaber that gets used in the film is Vader's, and only at the tail end of the movie. On the planet Jedha, you see Jyn rushing through the market, and then you hear Watto, the blue-skinned, wing junk salesman from the prequels, in the background. If you look to the right of the scene, you will see his large nose. Hidden Mickey. During the Battle of Scarif, An exploding fighter ship plumes smoke in the shape of Mickey Mouse's head, around 1 hour and 45 minutes. Bail Organa can be heard asking Captain Antilles to ready his ship when leaving to get Leia. The planet on which Jyn is retrieved from the Empire by the Rebel Alliance is called Wabani, an anagram for Obi-Wan. The first appearance of Darth Vader in his bacta-tank is accompanied by an ascending four-note leitmotif last used in the original Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977. It was originally written by John Williams to introduce the Death Star and the Empire and eventually evolved into the Imperial March, also known as Darth Vader's theme for Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and subsequent Star Wars productions. Jimmy Smits, who had previously appeared as Bail Organa in Star Wars Episode II, Attack of the Clones, 2002, and Star Wars Episode III, Revenge of the Sith, 2005, and again in the cinematic video game Star Wars, The Force Unleashed, 2008, was revealed to appear in the film just months before its premiere. At one point during production of the film, it was rumored that Hayden Christensen would reprise his role as Darth Vader as in Star Wars Episode III, Revenge of the Sith, 2005, but the rumors turned out to be false. In 2016, Kathleen Kennedy said that James Earl Jones will voice Darth Vader, who will be played on screen by a stunt double. The film reveals that the Death Star's laser beam is powered by kyber crystals. Kyber crystals are most notably used in lightsabers. Some tracks of Michael Giacchino's score feature reworkings of John Williams' original Star Wars scores. The most notable of these is the track Krennic's Aspirations, where a slowed-down version of the Imperial March can be heard when Darth Vader enters. This reworking of the Imperial March also appears a few more times throughout the movie. There are now 8 Star Wars films. The only 2 characters to now appear in every film are R2, D2 and C-3PO. Of the other main characters, Anakin Vader appears in 7 films, Leia appears in 6, Luke and Chewbacca appear in 5, and Han appears in 4. The first Star Wars movie in which all of the main characters die. -2 So is the first major droid character to be killed in a live-action Star Wars movie. The Hammerhead-class cruiser which rams the Star Destroyer late in the film, is a design which first appeared in the video game, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, 2003, developed by BioWare. No lightsaber is seen until 2 hours into the movie, and this is the first official Star Wars film in which no protagonist uses one. In Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, Governor Tarkin announces that the Emperor has dissolved the council permanently, and that all territories are directly controlled by regional governors. Although the reason for this decision was never explicitly stated, it is likely that the Emperor did this in direct response to the Battle of Scarif, which occurs at the end of this movie. As this was the first open assault of the Rebel Alliance on the Empire, he probably used it as an excuse to implement some form of martial law throughout the galaxy, and rid himself of the last governmental body that stood between himself and absolute power. The ship Ghost from Star Wars Rebels, 2014, can be seen in the top left-hand corner of the frame from the high-angle shot outside the base on Yavin 4. This film's opening scene takes place 16 years before Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977. Then primarily takes place a few days before it and ends just 10 hours before the original film's story begins. When Leia appears, it continues the tradition of at least one Skywalker character appearing in each movie's closing shot before the credits. Anakin appears in Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, 1999, and Star Wars Episode II, Attack of the Clones, 2002. Luke appears as a baby in Star Wars Episode III, Revenge of the Sith, 2005, later as an adult, with Leia, in Star Wars, Episode IV, A New Hope, 1977, Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi, 1983. and alone in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, 2015. Fallen statues in the desert planet of Jedha, in the beginning of the film, are seen at least twice in the shape of a Jedi lying on their side. The second shows him holding a lightsaber. These are ruins of an ancient Jedi temple, as Jedha was a holy world of worship for those who believed in the Force. Before the Battle of Scarif, Senator Bail Organa, Jimmy Smits, tells Mon Mothma that he is returning to Alderaan, although it was never explicitly stated in Star Wars. Episode 4, A New Hope, 1977. Rogue One acknowledges that Bail was thus on the planet when it was destroyed by the Death Star. Although it was speculated there would be no lightsabers in this film, the rumor turned out to be false, as near the end of the film Darth Vader cuts down rebels in an attempt to retrieve the Death Star plans. In trailers and promotional footage, Jyn and Cassian are seen running through the Imperial base and on the beach on the planet Scarif, with Jyn carrying the data storage device holding the Death Star plans, like the shot in the trailers of a TIE fighter rising in front of Jyn on a catwalk at the top of the tower on Scarif. These scenes were not used in the final film, where the data storage device was only ever taken to the top of the tower. They may have been cut when the final act of the film was changed and their characters didn't survive at the end. The name of Rogue Squadron, the group of pilots led by Luke Skywalker at the Battle of Hoth, is retroactively revealed to be inspired by Jyn's team, which chose the name Rogue One as its call sign. Director Gareth Edwards appears as a cameo in the end of the movie. He is the rebel that ejects the Tantive IV from Episode 4. The Death Star plans are kept in a secure facility on the planet Scarif. The name Scarif bears a striking similarity to the acronym SIF, a Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. A SIF is a secure facility used to store sensitive or classified data. Senator Bail Organa, played by Jimmy Smits, makes an appearance. He is Princess Leia's adoptive father. The scene where Chirrut walks through the crossfire to turn on the comlink switch while chanting his Force mantra is reminiscent of a scene in Little Big Man, 1970, where Old Lodge Skins walks toward the river during the Trail of Tears massacre, claiming he is invisible. First Star Wars movie to feature a resort-like planet, awash in leafy palms, sunny weather and clear blue seas. Planet Scarif, also known as the Maldives, was the designated storage location for the Empire's plans for the Death Star. Such Herrera's character, and name even, seems to be in homage to Argentinian freedom fighter, Ernesto Che Guevara. Both men were considered extremists in their battles against dictatorships, resulting in mixed views of their legacies. On Yavin IV, a sentry on a recon tower uses a device to track ships landing and taking off. When Rogue One takes off, the sentry appears to have been taken off guard, as he is not using his device. Galen Erso was likely a reference to the original character who helped create the Rebel Alliance, now in Legends canon, Galen Marek. His ship is likely a reference to the movie's title and the crew's call sign of Rogue One, with the ship's name being Rogue Shadow. Jyn Erso is also potentially a reference to Juno Eclipse. Rogue Shadow's pilot and Galen Marek's training droid Proxy may have had some influence in K-2SO's design and character. This can all be found from Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, 2008. The droid -2SO can be heard saying the classical Star Wars phrase "I have a bad feeling about this" while entering the train towards the Imperial base with Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. The phrase is first uttered by Luke Skywalker in Episode 4 and then again by Han Solo, Princess Leia, -3PO, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker in all of the other Star Wars movies. In the fight above Scarif, a TIE fighter explodes in the shape of the head of Mickey Mouse. Jyn and Cassian's death scene mirrors a similar death scene between Milo and Cassia, the main protagonists of Pompeii, 2014, played in that film by Kit Harington and Emily Browning. Jyn and Cassian embrace on each other on the beach and they die in an ensuing shockwave. In Pompeii, 2014, Milo and Cassia kiss and the pyroclastic surge engulfs them. The Rogue One Facts and Truths.